The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service now presents a reading of articles and features from USA Today for Friday, December 5th, 2025. Your reader for this hour is Chet Walczyk. I'm glad you're here. Glad I'm here. We'll kick it off with a weekend edition. The cover story. Bubbly for soda. It's not by accident. Sweetness can hijack your brain and you just want more. Experts explain. Ken Frondorf is known by friends and family as the Diet Coke guy. The 68-year-old from Cincinnati drinks about 10 plastic 16.9-ounce bottles of Diet Coke every day. It is the only liquid he consumes besides a glass of water once or twice a week. He takes his morning pills with Diet Coke and goes to sleep with a bottle on his nightstand. A fridge in his garage is dedicated to storing the cases he stocks up on every month, and he even built a shelving unit to help contain the overflow. He'll scoop up more cases if there's a deal at the grocery store. Frondorf got hooked on Diet Coke about 20 years ago when he was diagnosed with diabetes, which forced him to replace his sugary drinks with other choices. The regular Coke was my soda of choice, but it wasn't the only thing I drank, he said. Once I settled on a Diet Coke, it's just gotten more over the years to the point where that's all I drink now. Frondorf has tried cutting back and quitting several times, but it takes only a few days before he caves in again. He's not alone. More than 60% of American adults report drinking sugar-sweetened beverages one or more times a day, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Recently, some USA Today journalists also learned firsthand how hard it can be to break soda habits when they try to quit cold turkey. Many people in America love soda, and some even believe they can't stop drinking it, and that's by design, medical experts say. These drinks hijack the brain's reward and motivation system and rewire the body's metabolism, food and nutrition experts say, which can lead consumers to crave them more. Soda lovers are also trained to associate these products with certain events and moments after decades of intense product marketing by beverage companies, said Ashley Gearhart, professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, where she runs the Food and Addiction Science and Treatment Lab. They want to inundate every single domain of your life, she said. Just like a chain smoker is dosing themselves with nicotine all day, you are dosing yourself with a naturally delivered sweet taste day after day, because whenever it's not there, a part of you feels slightly depressed and slightly dissatisfied. Humans were born with a sweet tooth, Gearhart said. The innate preference for sweetness was an evolutionary necessity for newborns to crave their mother's milk and ultimately find nourishment. It's one of the tastes that we don't have to learn to like, she said. Sweetness floods the brain with dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a role in reward, pleasure, and motivation sensations. Sodas hyperactivate the dopamine system and makes the brain crave it in a way that makes them hard to resist, Gearhart said. This is something that served us, that was biologically beneficial for the vast majority of human and animal history, she said. It's just now been used to sell us sugar water with a bunch of flavor additives that create brand loyalty. Frondorf can attest to this. He refuses to drink Pepsi products and immediately knows when he's accidentally served regular Coke instead of Diet. When asked why he loves Diet Coke so much, his answer is simple. It's just the taste. Diet Coke does not contain sugar. It uses an artificial sweetener called aspartame, which the Food and Drug Administration says is about 200 times sweeter than table sugar. This hypersweetness may help explain its appeal. Soda also contains caffeine, a central nervous system stimulant that is known to be mildly addictive, said Vivica Kroc, associate professor for Virginia Tech's Department of Human Nutrition, Food, and Exercise. That probably contributes to withdrawal symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, and irritability. Decades of industry research and development have also led to a proprietary blend of enticing flavor enhancers that trigger other sensory reactions in our brain, forcing us to want more. It's not just about how these chemical components interact with our brain, Gerhardt said. It's also about how they are delivered into our bodies. The whole delivery vehicle is really what makes something addictive, she said. For example, a banana. It contains sugar, but most people don't binge on bananas, she said. That's because fruits are a plant matrix that also contain fiber, water, and other components that require energy to break it down and nourish the body for longer periods of time. A can of soda is a straight shot of sugar or sweetener, but a sweet tooth is only secondary to what's really going on here, said Dr. David Ludwig, endocrinologist and researcher at Boston Children's Hospital. Food rewards and cravings occur with any foods, not just sodas and those that are ultra-processed, he said. They are there to get us to do behaviors that, if they're done in a proper balance and in the right context, are actually helpful for us, he said. If we haven't eaten for 3 days, we are going to be craving foods. That's a natural thing. Sodas can be addictive, but not because they're hyper-palatable, said Ludwig, who was also a professor of nutrition at Harvard Public School. His research suggests the answer may lie in the body's metabolism. When consuming sodas, fast-digesting carbohydrates and sugars cause the blood sugar to spike, Ludwig said. This causes the pancreas to quickly release the hormone insulin to drive that blood sugar down, forcing sugar into the liver, muscles, and fat tissue throughout the body. Because these calories are being stored very quickly, they aren't around long enough to nourish the body. Your metabolism begins to crash, which causes cravings to get the body's blood sugar back up. It's a double whammy because the calories are getting stored and you get hungry again too soon, Ludwig said. It's not that these foods are so amazingly tasty, it's that they alter our metabolism. The fundamental problem is that the processed carbs are sending us on a blood sugar and insulin roller coaster ride. Coca-Cola and PepsiCo did not respond to USA Today's request for comment. But William Dermody, a spokesperson for the American Beverage Association, said makers of popular soda brands support people's efforts to lead a healthy life. They offer alternatives such as sparkling waters, zero-sugar sports drinks, and probiotic sodas so families can make the choices that are right for them, he said. Today, 63% of the beverages consumers buy have zero sugar, he said. That figure includes Diet Coke. Many soda drinkers can pinpoint the time in their lives when they first fell in love with soda. That is by design, said Kroc from Virginia Tech. Soda manufacturers invest billions of marketing dollars each year. They cross-market with certain foods and fast food chains, university campuses, events, sports, and alcoholic beverages. Their campaigns ensure that drinking soda is associated with every aspect of life. They have socially normalized sugary beverages as the default beverage, Kroc said. And that's the case for Frondorf, who says he's not going to stop drinking soda anytime soon. I have got a lot of health problems, and I know drinking water would help. But it's just not worth the effort, he said. I will just stick with my Diet Coke. Waste, fraud, cost the U.S. $29.2 billion. Afghanistan occupation was doomed, reports say. The United States' 20-year attempt to stand up democracy in Afghanistan descended into a cesspool of corruption and squandered as much as $29.2 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse in pursuit of unrealistic goals, according to a government watchdog report released on December 3rd. The scathing report is the culmination of a 17-year investigation by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, or SIGAR, which Congress created in 2008 to investigate and oversee the United States occupation. Its conclusion? The American occupation was a failure, doomed from the start by unrealistic and uninformed goals and run through with corruption and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Former President Biden announced he would withdraw all U.S. forces from Afghanistan in 2021. More than a week before the final American troops left the country that August, the Taliban had already overtaken the capital, the Afghan president had fled, and the government collapsed. The failures of the occupation of Afghanistan resurfaced in recent weeks after a 29-year-old Afghan man who immigrated to the United States in the wake of the withdrawal was charged in the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen blocks from the White House, killing one. The suspect worked for years in Afghanistan with top-secret CIA-led units of Afghan fighters known for their brutality and disregard for human rights, and showed signs of severe depression and psychological stress stemming from the experience. The shooting prompted President Trump to further crack down on refugees from Afghanistan and other countries seeking asylum in the United States, a move criticized by Democrats and some veterans who worked with Afghan allies. Congress spent about $145 billion on Afghanistan reconstruction, much more than the United States spent on the Marshall Plan, the push to help Europe recuperate after World War II, accounting for inflation, according to the report. That money, investigators found, stood up an Afghan government and military plagued by corruption and inefficiency, which collapsed within days when the United States withdrew its forces in 2021. The government we created over there was essentially a white-collar criminal enterprise, Jean Alois, SIGAR's acting inspector general, told reporters at a Defense Writers Group briefing. For the first 10 or 12 years of the occupation, the United States just ignored corruption, Alois said. SIGAR investigators issued 4 reports on the issue, generating window dressing improvements, but no significant change, he said. Investigators identified 1,327 instances of waste, fraud, and abuse, totaling up to $29 billion. Hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on aircraft, power plants, and buildings that were barely or never used. Contractors, both Afghan and American, siphoned off billions of dollars in kickbacks and embezzled from U.S. funds, according to the report. An Afghan businessman paid $1.25 million in bribes to American service members, stealing oil from the United States military to sell on the black market, in one case investigated by SIGAR. In another case, an American defense contractor and his wife evaded taxes on hundreds of millions of dollars in income from reconstruction contracts in Afghanistan. SIGAR investigations resulted in 171 criminal convictions and recovered $167 billion in funds, according to the report. But some corrupt Afghan officials and contractors were off limits, Alois said. We would identify guys who were bad guys, who earned kickbacks, bribes, whatever, but they could have been working for the CIA or another agency, so we were told, hands off, said Alois. We did what we could do, he added. The United States spent $39 billion on military and civilian infrastructure and weapons for the Afghan army, including 96,000 ground vehicles, 427,000 weapons, 162 aircraft, and 17,000 pairs of night vision goggles, the report found. When the United States withdrew, about $7.1 billion worth of weapons were left behind. Facilities Americans built for the Army that were not destroyed can be assumed to be under Taliban control, the report concluded. In addition, the report found that the U.S. military worked with Afghan warlords accused of human rights atrocities. It maintained a tacit acceptance of sexual violence by Afghan allies, including tolerating the practice of boy play or the widespread sexual abuse of young boys, according to the report. Throughout the Inspector General's investigations, Alois said investigators faced a general lack of cooperation from U.S. officials. It was worse during the Biden administration, which just shut us down for a year, he said. They would not talk to us. They would not work with our people, he said. In interviews with Saigar, senior U.S. officials said they felt the effort was doomed years before the Afghan government's 2021 collapse. Even in my early days, at least I had a sense that we were kidding ourselves, William Wood, the ambassador to Afghanistan from 2007 to 2009, told investigators in the report. In the 20-year war, more than 2,300 U.S. service members, 69,000 Afghan military and police, and 46,000 civilians were killed, according to Brown University's Cost of War project. The cost was much higher than just money, Alois said. You are listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, and the time is 17 minutes after the hour. White House resets fuel economy standards for vehicles. President Trump announced that he was rolling back fuel efficiency standards for cars and trucks set by the Biden administration during an event at the White House on December 3rd, making it easier for automakers to sell gas-powered vehicles. Signed into law in 1975, the Corporate Average Fuel Economy, or CAFE, standards regulate how far vehicles must travel on a gallon of fuel. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is expected to propose reducing the fuel economy requirements from model years 2022 to 2031, a move that will save Americans $109 billion, a White House official told USA Today. Today, my administration is taking historic action to lower costs for American consumers, protect American auto jobs, and make buying a car much more affordable for countless American families, and also safer, said Trump from the Oval Office. Trump said he was terminating Biden's CAFE standards, describing the regulations as burdensome and expensive. It put tremendous upward pressure on car prices, combined with the insane electric vehicle mandates, he said. Joe Biden's fuel efficiency regulations would have raised the cost of a new vehicle by $1,000, the White House said in a post on X. President Trump is hitting reset, saving Americans $109 billion. The Biden administration would have compelled widespread shifts to electric vehicles that American consumers did not ask for, accompanied by significant cost of living increases, the official said. Executives from the three largest automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, were at the White House for the announcement. In 2022, the Biden administration announced new standards that required an industry-wide fleet average of approximately 49 miles per gallon for passenger cars and light trucks in model year 2026. The new standards, the Department of Transportation said in 2022, would increase fuel efficiency by 8% annually for model years 24 and 25 and 10% annually for model year 26. That would also have increased the estimated fleet-wide average by nearly 10 miles per gallon for model year 26 compared to model year 21. In June 2024, the Biden administration announced that fuel economy would increase 2% per year for model years 27 through 21 for passenger cars, while light trucks would increase 2% for model years 29 through 31. The increases would have brought fuel economy up to approximately 50.4 miles per gallon by model year 31. That would have saved passenger car and light truck owners more than $600 in fuel over the lifetime of their vehicles, the Biden administration said. The fuel economy requirements for 2022 to 31 model year vehicles are expected to be significantly reduced, though it was unclear how much it would be reduced by. Earlier this year, Trump signed legislation that ended fuel economy penalties for automakers and said they faced no fines dating back to the 2022 model year. Trump has taken a series of steps to make it easier for automakers to sell gasoline-powered vehicles and disincentivize electric vehicle production, including rescinding EV tax credits and barring California from banning the sale of traditional gas-powered vehicles after 2035. In June, Trump signed 3 Congressional Review Act resolutions that rescinded California's electric vehicle sales mandates and diesel engine rules. Ford CEO Jim Farley praised Trump in a statement ahead of the event for aligning fuel economy standards with market realities. We can make real progress on carbon emissions and energy efficiency while still giving customers choice and affordability, he said. GM CEO Mary Barra noted at an event on December 2nd that before Congress blocked California's zero-emission vehicle rules in June, the automaker sector was facing requirements in some states that 35% of new vehicles sold in 26 must be EVs. We were going to have to start shutting down plants because we weren't going to be able to build and sell those vehicles, Barra said. Darian Davis, an advocate for clean energy for the League of Conservation Voters, said in a statement that slashing fuel economy standards will increase costs for drivers and threaten the progress made in reducing dangerous air pollution and preventing adverse health outcomes. You are listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 22 minutes after the hour. And here's something we're all feeling this morning. Arctic air gets December off to coldest start across the U.S. Baby, it's colder than normal outside. December is off to a chillier than typical start for much of the country. Just in time for a weekend of holiday festivals and parades, more frosty temperatures will blanket much of the northern and eastern regions of the country, potentially with some record-breaking lows. It's all thanks to another of the Arctic blasts that forecasters have been talking about, and it's likely, and it's not, I repeat, not likely to be the last. Meteorologists with the National Weather Service and AccuWeather say the polar air could linger, keeping things colder than typical for early to mid-December for many locations outside the Southwest. In the West, temperatures will trend higher into next week, when higher than average temperatures also are forecast to spread into the central and southern plains, according to the Weather Prediction Center. Over December 6th to the 7th, daytime highs and morning lows could be 10 to 15 degrees below normal in the northern plains and upper Midwest, the Prediction Center said. That cold air mass also will move eastward. The Prediction Center warns additional winter weather advisories may be needed by later in the week and advises paying attention to the weather forecast. Farther east and south, a winter storm will move across an area extending from Texas to Delaware late in the week, the Weather Prediction Center said. And I guess that means right now. Heavy rain and potentially freezing rain are expected to occur along a line from Texas into Georgia today, then move farther northeast tomorrow. A fast-moving storm can spread a swath of snow from the Tennessee Valley to the Mid-Atlantic through late yesterday night into Friday night, said Dan DePodwin, AccuWeather's Vice President of Forecasting Operations. While this storm does not appear to be a major winter storm, it is certainly enough to cause slippery roads on Friday and Friday night, Podwin said. We are most confident that snow will fall in the mountains of Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia. The snow can also spread north toward Washington, D.C., potentially causing slick roads today. A marginal risk of severe weather is possible in the Florida Panhandle and southern Georgia along the boundary of the system, which could stall and present a flash flood threat, the Prediction Center said. The pattern of cold waves over today and tomorrow and those expected beyond that are forecast to drop temperatures well below the normal average, said Paul Pastelak, a long-range meteorologist for AccuWeather. In Pittsburgh, for example, it's likely temperatures will remain below 40 degrees through at least December 9th, the local weather service office said. The last time the temperature did not rise above 40 during the first 9 days of December was 2005. So there you have it. New details arise in deadly Guard shooting. 2 National Guard members ambushed last week in a shooting blocks from the White House. Both suffered gunshot wounds to the head, according to new details released about the attack. U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf were on patrol near the intersection of 17th and I Streets in northwest Washington in full uniform when shots rang out, according to an 8-page complaint filed by Metropolitan Police Department Detective Joshua Branson. A photo taken from video surveillance at the scene of the November 26th shooting shows the suspected gunman bending down next to Beckstrom and Wolf after allegedly shooting them with a revolver, the charging document reviewed by USA Today said. Wolf, 24, of Martinsburg, West Virginia, remained fighting for his life after the shooting that fatally wounded Beckstrom of Somerville, West Virginia. She was 20. The shooting suspect, 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal, who was shot during the attack, attended his first court appearance in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia virtually from a hospital bed on December 2nd. He was charged with murder, assault with intent to kill, and possession of a firearm during a violent crime. Before the shooting rang out, footage recovered from a different area near the crime scene shows the defendant standing on the sidewalk outside the Farragut West Metro Station for about 1 minute. In those visuals, the defendant appears to be glancing westbound at the intersection with 17th Street before running toward the area. At approximately 2:13 p.m., the charging document said 2 majors with the Army National Guard were talking with Beckstrom and Wolf when gunfire erupted. One of the witnesses alleged to officials that he saw the pair fall to the ground while simultaneously seeing the defendant shooting a gun and screaming Allah Akbar. The Arabic phrase translates to God is greatest in English. Beckstrom and Wolf were unresponsive and suffering from gunshot wounds to the head before being transported to hospitals in critical condition. The witness, court papers continued, immediately pulled his issued service weapon and engaged the defendant. In a subsequent gunfight, the suspect was shot and fell to the ground. The same witness said it appeared the defendant's firearm was empty, and another nearby person immediately jumped on the defendant as he was attempting to reload. Both witnesses and uniformed U.S. Secret Service officers who responded to the scene assisted in apprehending the suspect. According to the court document, Beckstrom was pronounced dead at the hospital on November 27th. An autopsy conducted by Dr. Kristen Geese with the District of Columbia Office of the Chief Medical Examiner confirmed Beckstrom died from a single gunshot wound to the back of her head. Beckstrom's manner of death was ruled a homicide. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 30 minutes after the hour, and we head to the editorial section for Friday, December 5th. And we have a piece authored by Bob Elston, who was a grant writer for a refugee resettlement agency in the Washington, D.C. area. Mr. Elton's column, "Don't Let National Guard Shooter Doom Allies." Hours after Ramanullah Lakhanwal, a former Afghan commando who worked on behalf of the CIA during wartime, allegedly shot two National Guard service members blocks away from the White House, I texted the terrible news to an Afghan woman in Kabul who has been waiting 4 years for her U.S. visa to be stamped in her passport. I told her, "I'm sorry. One person is going to ruin it for everyone." She responded, "Yeah, that stupid one." By then, the blame game had already begun. Some pointed a finger at former President Biden, claiming his administration had not properly vetted Lakhanwal's background before allowing him to enter the United States. Others blamed the Trump administration for approving his asylum application in April. Well, we don't yet know the suspect's motivations for the attack. Media reporting suggests his commando unit in Afghanistan routinely went on missions targeting some of the most dangerous members of the Taliban, the Islamic State terrorist network, and Al-Qaeda. It's not difficult to imagine Lakhanwal came away from those experiences with post-traumatic stress disorder, like so many U.S. service members involved in the war. In my time working with refugees in the Washington area, I've also seen people hold good jobs at our embassy, the United Nations, or with the U.S. military, only to come here and take survival-level positions and struggle to pay rent and feed their families. Lakhanwal's alleged actions were abhorrent. They are also an anomaly. Many Afghans fought side by side with U.S. service members. Some were given a pathway to this country, and the vast majority of them now reside here peacefully. We cannot walk away from allies like these who picked up a weapon on behalf of the Stars and Stripes during wartime in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere. Along with being the right thing to do, supporting them speaks to our willingness to protect those who aid us. While the United States has already done much for Afghan allies, resettling 190,000 refugees since 2021, thousands more are waiting. Our treatment of them will be judged by people in Venezuela, the Middle East, and other potential flashpoints where people are sympathetic to us and might be willing to put themselves at risk to support our country's interests. I was one of those who both felt an obligation to my Afghan colleagues and was fortunate enough to be in a position to do something about it. In 2013, I worked on a U.S. military base in Kabul in a civilian capacity with about 24 Afghan staff. Almost all of my colleagues had worked as interpreters in the field with American soldiers chasing the Taliban. One showed me his Facebook page. He clicked through the pages of his friends and showed me how their feeds, pictures, posts, likes, and comments suddenly stopped cold. That was the day the owner of the page was killed in combat, leaving behind the social media footprint of a ghost. That was when I decided to do what I could do to help as many Afghan colleagues as I could. During downtime from my main job, I wrote the required employment verification and recommendation letters and got them signed by a U.S. supervisor. My American bosses warned me not to get involved because navigating the U.S. immigration system on behalf of an Afghan would be too time-consuming and frustrating. I got a first taste while helping a colleague fill out a form that asked for basic personal information, including whether he was married. We wrote in the box provided, "No." A month later, his entire application was sent back for revisions with an explanation that a single person should have answered that question, "Not applicable." I knew then that the application review and vetting process was no piece of cake, even for someone with enough English proficiency to know the nuances of using "not applicable." When I left Afghanistan in 2014, My work helping Afghans get through the review and vetting did not end. For the next decade, I would occasionally receive an email from the U.S. government asking me to verify once again that I had indeed written a letter of recommendation or employment verification all those years earlier. All told, I helped about 25 Afghans come to America. In August 2021, the U.S.-backed Afghan government fell, and Taliban fighters walked into the capital city of Kabul almost unopposed. In the ensuing chaos, I was contacted by former Afghan colleagues asking me to do for their family members what I had done for them 8 years earlier. Time was short because the Taliban had begun going door to door looking for people who had worked with Americans. That's when I was put in touch with the woman with whom I exchanged text at the top of this column and who's not named here because she still resides in Kabul. A niece of one of my former colleagues, she had been working as a finance officer for an office that had partnered with the U.S. Institute of Peace and thus was on the Taliban's target list. For the past 4 years, she has borne the brunt of the Taliban's policies against women. In 2022, the Taliban kicked female university students out of school just before finals week. She temporarily lost her job after the Taliban decreed that international non-governmental organizations operating in Afghanistan cannot employ female staff. Through all of this, she waited for her visa application to the United States to be vetted and approved, which it was, in October 2024. But the follow-on processing and clearances were still not finished when President Trump was inaugurated in January and immediately froze and defunded the U.S. refugee admissions program. She and I have remained in contact, and we tried not to give up hope. But when Lockenwald traveled from Washington State and fired his weapon at U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and Air Force Sergeant Andrew Wolf, I knew the bedroom waiting for her in our home in Virginia probably would not host an Afghan who had put herself at risk for America, only to be derailed at the last moment by a violent act over which she had no control and an immigration system that once welcomed wartime allies. If we are to be the people we believe we are, that pathway must be open again. And again, this was written by Bob Elston, who was a grant writer for a refugee resettlement agency in the Washington, D.C. area. You are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 38 minutes after the hour, and I move over to what USA Today calls the money section, but as we know, has become essentially the travel and tourism section. So here we go. Camping is the new community. Campgrounds help people connect. This is written by Kathleen Wong, one of USA Today's travel editors. Some travelers camp to get away from it all, while others seek community. Often without cell service or our creature comforts, camping forces people to detach from the daily grind. At the same time, it allows them to meet others who have a shared interest and build new friendships without distractions. This is precisely what some campers are seeking out as they pack up their gear. According to CampSpot's recently released 2026 Travel Trend Outlook, 75% of travelers said they wish for a stronger sense of community, blaming the lack thereof on work-life imbalances, not enough shared experiences, and too much screen time. Campgrounds have become a solace for this. In CampSport's report, 85% of travelers said they regularly meet new people while camping, and over half said that it's easy to strike up conversations with other campers. On average, campers said they make 4 new friends on their trips. Camping pulls people out of their normal routines, both literally and mentally, in a way that few other types of travel can. Jeff Benton, general manager of Marketplace at CampSpot, told USA Today. Most of us spend our days indoors, often in front of screens, but the moment you're outside, surrounded by trees or stars instead of notifications, well, something changes. People feel like they're off the clock. They're more present, and that opens the door for more connection. Here's how camping fosters community. Camping makes it easy for people to connect with others over a shared love of the outdoors, with 80% of campers saying they are interested in meeting others at the campground. Michigan-based Susan Christensen can attest to that. She grew up camping with her family, and the activity continues to play a significant role in her life. Now a grandmother, the 65-year-old often camps with up to 4 generations of her family, from her husband to her grandchildren. While camping is first and foremost a time for her to connect with family, they have a big gathering each year during Father's Day weekend in honor of her father, who instilled their love of camping. She often meets strangers along the way. There are times when her grandchildren befriend other families, or she and her sisters notice someone camping alone and invite them to join their campfire. You just interact with other campers easily as you're walking around or at the registration center or down by the water, she said. People generally walk at a campground or set up by a campsite, so you just have so many more opportunities to engage with people if you want to. In the past 2 years, she has seen more solo campers looking to meet others with a shared interest. According to a 2025 survey by camping app The Dirt, more people have solo camped for at least one night, up from 19% in 2021 to 31% in 24. Without physical barriers like a hotel may have, campsites are more open and inviting. Often, campgrounds themselves amplify that connection, said Benton. Many are intentionally designed with shared fire pits, group spaces, or events that make it easier for strangers to become, well, neighbors. Many travelers also find the camping community to be welcoming, with 63% saying fellow campers are more polite and friendly compared to everyday interactions. The camping community can also have each other's back when someone is in need, with 92% of campers saying they have proactively offered aid to someone while camping. There have been times when we were missing equipment and other campers helped us out, said Pennsylvania-based camper Benjamin Leskavansky. We have also returned the favor. We are always willing to help our fellow camping neighbors if needed. Leskavansky and his wife go camping every summer with their 3 children, riding bikes and relaxing by the campfire. Without the distractions of phones or screens, camping has become a way for his children to easily make friends. I believe that camping can help foster connection by bringing people together in a more simplified setting, the 30-year-old RV owner said. While our kids are making new friends, we typically will end up meeting the other parents or adults who are camping and spend some time together, he added. This is all part of the experience, in my opinion. Christensen echoes this sentiment. On a typical day, many of us get home from work, walk in our house, and close out the world, she said. When we go camping, we do just the opposite. We sit outside our tents and campers, we wave at walkers going by, we might stop to admire someone's dog, or strike up a conversation with someone at the fishing dock. It's so easy to invite your camp neighbor over for a cup of coffee or to share a campfire for the evening. And you are listening to reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 44 minutes after the hour. Cruising altitude. Lounges evolve to cater to more. New generation of users are seeking experiences. And this is written by USA Today travel editor Zach Wichter. There's a better than average chance that your trip could include a stop in an airport lounge if you're flying soon. Thanks to a proliferation of premium credit cards that include lounge access, More travelers than ever are passing through the frosted glass doors and taking advantage of their local airport's more secluded spaces. According to Airport Dimensions' 2024 Airport Experience Survey, 52% of frequent travelers use lounges on at least some of their trips, and 70% of travelers say more options for lounge access would improve their experience. As credit card companies and airlines hold out lounges as must-have perk and try to one-up each other on experience, the lounges themselves have had to change to meet the needs of a more diverse visitor base. I spoke to some experts about how we got here and where lounges are headed, and here's what they said to expect as airport lounges continue to evolve. American Airlines was the first carrier to open a lounge when it cut the ribbon on its first Admirals Club at LaGuardia Airport in New York in the late 1930s. Since then, American has been at the forefront of lounge evolutions, becoming the first airline to open separate, dedicated premium lounges when it introduced its first flagship lounge decades later. In the early days, lounge access was limited to travelers on premium tickets or was only available by direct invitation from the airlines, and the interiors and amenities were pretty basic. The Delta Lounge looked the same no matter where you were. The American Lounge looked the same no matter where you were. David Loyola, design director and principal at Gensler, told me. Loyola's portfolio includes airport terminals and lounges. The food could have been very basic, he said. Experts previously told me the refreshments were, for a long time, more like the breakfast offerings in a mid-tier hotel lobby than the menu at an upscale restaurant. And for a long time, that was fine. Travelers didn't expect luxury from the lounges, just an escape from the scrum in the regular terminal. When credit card companies started opening their own lounges and providing access with their airline partners through co-branded credit cards, the demographics of travelers who use the lounges started shifting, and guess what? Their expectations followed. We know that our co-brand customers, second to earning miles and points, lounges are one of the most important things for our city cardholders. Heather Garbodin, Chief Customer Officer at American Airlines, told me. American Express opened the first Centurion Lounge in Las Vegas in 2013, and that too was a turning point for lounge offerings. They are in a different game, Loyola said. While airlines' own lounges have a dual focus on creating an oasis for their passengers and providing an extra level of customer service when something goes wrong, credit card and other lounges are all about the experience alone. That meant customers across all lounges have come to expect more from the experience. I would say over the last 10 years, there's been more change than the prior 80 or 90 years, Garbodin said. The food piece is incredibly important. Premium customers have really come to expect that. For most travelers, a cookie-cutter lounge experience just isn't enough anymore. People want experiences, Garbodin said. The younger generation is expanding their participation, not only in just flying, but as cardholders. We are trying to be really thoughtful about making sure our customers having a really good experience, whether they are a cardholder member or someone who paid for a business class seat. For many in the new generation of lounge users, that means better food, more and different kinds of seating options, and a sense of place when you're in the airport. It has shifted to a much younger generation of travelers, Loyola said. If you compare lounges where they were to where they are now, trying to appeal to a broader audience that wants them to be less stuffy. He added that a big focus is on providing options for different kinds of spaces within the lounge and locally inspired design accents. Does this person want to sit in a lounge chair? Do they want a dining table? Do they want to sit at the bar? It's providing a variety of seating types where people can decide, I want to do this today, he said, adding that it's important for people to be able to orient themselves easily. Make it intuitive. There's exploration, but it shouldn't be cumbersome. Garbodin said American continues to plan for the future of its lounges, especially as Flagship First Class phases out on its long-haul flights. Its lounges will have to shift to cater to a slightly different set of travelers. She said she anticipates food to be an even more important focus going forward, both for full-scale dining and a faster grab-and-go concept. One of the differentiators for Flagship First is flagship dining, she said. We are focused on how we can expand that to all of Flagship rather than Flagship First. The a la carte dining is something I anticipate will be expanding. American brands both its long-haul first and business class cabins as Flagship and is planning to phase out Flagship First in the coming years. Garbodin added that the airline's new Provisions Admirals Club have also gotten positive feedback from customers. Ultimately, it's a grab and go. The goal isn't for you to come in and lounge for an hour, but we have really great food and beverages for you to bag up and bring to your flight, she said. We are actually shocked at how successful and how positive the customer feedback has been. It sounds like lounge operators are poised to further stratify the options on the ground, just as airplane cabins have been segmented in the air. If companies simultaneously invest in more high-end table service style dining experiences and quick-hit prepackaged meals, lounges will be positioned to cater to more kinds of flyers with a more diverse set of needs and expectations. So you ask, how can I get airport lounge access? Well, the most common ways for most people to get airport lounge access are as a perk of either a credit card or airline loyalty status. Many of the credit cards that provide lounge access do so through a partnership with Priority Pass. American Express, Chase, and Capital One all have premium credit cards that include lounge access, as do many airline co-branded credit cards. If you don't have lounge access as a perk of whatever in your wallet or your airline status, you can also often buy a day pass at the lounge check-in desk. You can also purchase a Priority Pass membership separately. Airport and airline websites will usually list lounge availability and restrictions, so check before you get to the terminal. Travelers without real ID will have to pay a $45 fee. New procedure for 6% of flyers will start February 1st. Traveling without a real ID will cost you $45. The Transportation Security Administration announced December 1st that 94% of airline passengers in the United States have a real ID. Starting February 1st, the remaining 6% will need to follow an alternative process, which includes a fee. Officials said the fee is meant to cover the technology and administrative cost of verifying the identities of travelers who do not have a real ID compliant document or an accepted alternative. According to TSA officials, non-compliant travelers who use the new Confirm.ID process should plan to pay the fee and upload their documents through a TSA web portal, which will go online soon before they arrive at the airport. Those travelers should bring a copy of their Confirm.ID receipt to the standard TSA line and should be able to proceed through the security checkpoint normally after presenting their non-compliant documents and proof of completing the Confirm.ID process. Travelers who do not complete Confirm.ID in advance will have the option of completing it at the airport. TSA officials generally expect ID verification to take 10 to 15 minutes, but said it could take up to 30 minutes. Enrolling in Confirm.ID does not guarantee the TSA's ability to verify a traveler's identity, so even after paying the fee, travelers could still be denied boarding. The TSA said Confirm ID's alternative compliance method is valid for 10 days per payment, beginning with the first departure of the itinerary. Right now, travelers without real ID may be subject to additional screening, including verifying their name and address before being allowed through secure checkpoints. What types of ID are accepted by the TSA? Here are the acceptable forms of ID as of December 1st. Real ID compliant driver's licenses or state photo identity cards issued by the DMV or state equivalent. State issued enhanced driver's licenses or enhanced ID. U.S. passport or passport card. Department of Homeland Security trusted traveler cards like Global Entry. Permanent resident card. Border crossing card. Photo ID issued by a federally recognized tribal nation or Indian tribe. U.S. Department of Defense ID, including those issued to dependents. Veteran Health Identification Card. U.S. Merchant Mariner Credential. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Employment Authorization Card. Transportation Worker Identification Credential. HSPD-12 PIV Card. Foreign government issued passport card, Canadian provincial driver's license or Indian and Northern Affairs Canada card. TSA notes that the list of what's accepted may change without notice, so travelers with real ID alternatives should check the TSA's webpage before traveling. They just want to keep making things difficult. But you are listening to Reading Articles and Features from USA Today for Friday, December 5th, 2025 on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We will return for more readings after this short break. Your reader for this hour has been Chet Walczyk. I'm glad you were able to join me. I'm glad I was able to be here. And I hope you have a great weekend. And baby, it's cold outside, so keep it warm. See you next time.
We'll continue now with our reading of articles from today's issue of the USA Today. Your reader for this hour is Nancy. Section B, which is life. Here's one from movies. Pfeiffer recalls family's holiday fun and games, from Brian Truitt. She's a darn good actress, but there's only so much Michelle Pfeiffer could do to get in the Christmas spirit during a sweltering Atlanta summer. When it's 110 degrees out, 90% humidity, all you're thinking about is, why did I pick that wool sweater? How do I get cooled off so that my brain doesn't explode? Pfeiffer laughs, describing her scorching time filming the holiday comedy, Oh, What Fun, streaming now on Prime Video. Certainly, things are much more festive on the screen. The film stars Pfeiffer as Claire Kloster, a Texas mom who dreams of being a celebrated mother on her favorite daytime talk show. Not only do her husband, Dennis Leary, and grown kids, Felicity Jones, Chloe Grace Moretz, and Dominic Sessa, forget to nominate her, though. They accidentally leave Claire behind on a family outing to a holiday dance performance that was her idea. A hurt Claire bolts for a solo road trip on Christmas Eve and leaves her loved ones to fend for themselves. So many women, maybe all mothers, know what it's like to be the one who is keeping everything together, keeping everything running, keeping everything from derailing. We don't even think about it, we just do it, Pfeiffer says. That led her to think about how there aren't any Christmas films about moms or women. It's always about men, which is sort of odd, she says. Women are really the glue to a lot of families, and moms go unappreciated and kind of unsung. I thought that was an interesting take. The 67-year-old actress, who recently became a grandmother, caught up with USA Today to chat about her upcoming Christmas film, Oh, What Fun, and her holiday must-haves. Question: do you have a favorite memory of your mom from Christmases growing up? Answer: we didn't grow up with a lot. Any gifts at all, honestly, we were grateful for. But when I was like 4 or 5, I remember my mother went out of her way to get me this one doll that I really wanted. And I didn't think that I was going to get it. I remember the look on her face when she saw the look on my face when I opened that gift. It just left a huge imprint on me. Is Oh, What Fun your first holiday film, or do you consider Batman Returns a Christmas movie? Other people have asked me that. That never really occurred to me that Batman Returns was a Christmas movie, but it kind of is, so I guess this is my second. What is your own personal recipe for a bona fide Christmas movie? If there's a Christmas tree, that seems to be the criteria for people. The common theme is gratitude, really. Somehow, over the holidays, by the end of it, you're feeling gratitude for something that you weren't, whether it's the gifts that you have in your life or the gift of another person in your life. It seems like that's the real spirit of a Christmas film. There are quite a few references to other holiday classics in Oh, What Fun. For example, Claire's predicament is kind of a riff on Home Alone. What is your personal favorite? I love It's a Wonderful Life. It's a beautiful film and always puts me in the feeling of Christmas. There's a Charlie Brown Christmas, which we watched, of course, every year when the kids were growing up. And those weird little claymation Christmas movies. Maybe we should watch those again this year, because now my kids are adults, so we really haven't watched them in a while. Is there anything else, like a beloved holiday decoration or song, that you need to really kick December in high gear? My dad refused to buy a real tree. They were expensive and they were going to die. It made more sense to get a fake tree that you could use year after year, and it didn't make a mess and all those things, she laughs. I really, really wanted a real tree, and we never got one. The tree part is really important to me now, and I love the ceremony of decorating it as a family, breaking out the eggnog and having Christmas carols. Also, revisiting old ornaments you haven't seen in a year. What got broken since the year before? I don't know how, but they always do. As 2025 comes to a close, how have you changed in the past year? I'm increasingly aware of how precious life is the older you get, and you lose people, and you start realizing how finite it is. So I am, naturally, just really relishing the moments and the time I have, and friends and family, and what really is meaningful. My perspective is sort of shifting. You talk about what is meaningful. It's another thing to really start to live it and have it sort of driving you instead of your brain driving that notion. It's kind of wonderful. Here's another one from movies. Clooney's dad shaped his view of fame and fatherhood, from Brian Truitt. Everybody at some point has wrestled with whether to prioritize their professional life or personal life, even George Clooney. Listen, I'm a father of two 8-year-olds at 64 years old, so clearly I put some stuff off, he cracks. Admittedly, his title character in the new meta-dramedy, Jay Kelly, in select theaters now, streaming December 5th on Netflix, is much, much worse at the whole work-life balance thing. In the twilight of his career, Jay wrestles with his A-list legacy and how he has treated friends and loved ones, while also dealing with his youngest daughter, Grace Edwards, going to college soon, and his oldest, Riley Key, holding some deep-seated resentment. This guy lives with a lot of regret, and I don't have that, Clooney says. I mean, certainly I have regrets. Obviously, there's things I wished I'd done better. Batman and Robin, for one. But overall, what I liked was the idea of exploring this guy had my journey been earlier, or had my decisions been to divorce myself from family and friends and chase stardom in a very different pursuit. I was interested in seeing how this could have gone on if I'd made other decisions. One thing Clooney never did was kick all my friends and family out of my life, he says. I always made space for that. Richard Kind, who's really a good friend of mine, said that somehow I was prepared for fame because I surrounded myself with really good friends that I kept close. But for several years, Clooney had the reputation for being one of the world's most eligible bachelors, mainly because he didn't have a great interest in having a family, he says. That's all happened because I met Amal. Clooney recalls an important conversation with his dad 25 years ago. I remember saying, having kids is a version of living forever. Well, my version is the movies that I do. Those are my children. And my dad was like, how many stars could you name from 1920? I named 5 or something. He goes, that's 5. That's how many you can name, and that's 80 years ago. He goes, you're not buying forever with these movies. You're borrowing maybe 80 years. And it was a funny thing. I disagreed with him at the time. And now I completely understand what he was saying because I'm so happy in my life. Clooney married wife Amal, a human rights lawyer, in 2014, and they have 2 children, daughter Ella and son Alexander. Neither of his youngsters have a big dream of being a movie star or a high-profile attorney. Mainly because they don't understand celebrity yet. We've kept them away from it, Clooney says. Alexander said to me the other day, Pop, what's famous? And I go, why are you asking? He goes, well, because my friend's mom said you're famous. And I said, tell her I'm very famous. I was happy that there wasn't something that they were completely bombarded with. It's important to me because they actually didn't choose this sort of lifestyle, and I want them to have the best version of growing up that they possibly can. I want them to learn compassion and looking out for people who can't look out for themselves and all those kind of things. streaming. Vivica A. Fox heads up a Christmas campaign, IRL 2. From Ralphie Aversa. Vivica A. Fox is ready for the holidays, and she knows exactly when the Christmas tree is going up in her Los Angeles house. December 8th. I already have it planned, Fox, age 61, tells USA Today of when the halls will be decked in her household. But the veteran actress isn't the do-it-yourself type and hired a decorator because she's not getting all that stuff all over me, she jokes. I do it really big, she continues. I do the staircase. I do Christmas pictures with my godchildren. We already picked out the colors we're wearing this year for our Christmas pictures. For me, it's the time of year that I can finally relax and catch up on sleep. But before Fox turns on the out of office and relaxes, she's returning to your TV. The actress stars in and executive produces Lifetime's The Christmas Campaign, now streaming. A good Christmas film is a film where you want to put on your onesie, get some hot chocolate, and watch, she says. I'm just so glad to be a part of It's a Wonderful Lifetime. Fox's film kicks off a slate of 12 new movies this holiday season for Lifetime, with fresh films premiering every Friday and Saturday through Christmas. Lifetime turned me into a filmmaker, Fox explains. Lifetime affords me the opportunity to play roles that Hollywood normally doesn't give me the opportunity to play. And they trust me now as a filmmaker and also as an executive producer. Fox's roles outside of acting include writing, casting, and even at times wardrobe. Casting new actors and then working alongside them gives Fox the greatest satisfaction. She takes pride in breaking the ice on set, running lines, asking if they need anything. So the new players know they're with Viv and not Vivica A. Fox and can get over the movie star thing, she says. Once they find that I'm down to earth and that I want us to do good work together, it goes right out the door, she says. The Christmas campaign taught Fox about social media. In the Christmas campaign, Fox plays Monique, a no-nonsense boss at an ad agency. Monique pits two colleagues, Kaylee, Chelsea Ross Cook, and Darren, Austin J., against each other to promote the product's Santa pajamas. As the competition between the two advertising exec brews, a romance also grows. In one scene, Monique explains that Darren's modern approach of using influencers and social media aggregators will help the product sell, even if she doesn't know what a social media aggregator is. Fox had never used the term in real life either, even though her comments have, in fact, been aggregated many times. Several online outlets and social media accounts ran with comments Fox made at the Ultimate Women's Expo in Edison, New Jersey on November 8th. When an audience member asked Fox about chasing dreams, the actress replied, "Don't date 50 Cent and don't date no damn rappers." Fox and the hip-hop artist dated in the early 2000s. The rapper, born Curtis Jackson, responded on Instagram with an artificial intelligence-generated image that portrayed him as Morpheus from The Matrix, holding out red and blue pills. The caption read, "Either way, I'ma have that ass in The Matrix." Fox laughed about it on Sherri Shepherd's talk show, even going as far as to say she'd still take the blue pill and the orgasms she had with Jackson were fabulous. But Fox tells USA Today that she doesn't enjoy being aggregated. "I can't stand when someone takes a part of my interview and then runs with it," Fox says. "But I get that it's clickbait and more than anything else." You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time's 32 minutes after the hour. Movies. Emergency star Teague takes evil turn in one battle. From Brian Alexander. Yes, that's Kevin Teague, star of the 1970 series Emergency and 1989 Roadhouse movie, making a bizarre and chilling appearance in one battle after another. Teague, 81, plays Roy Moore, the toxic leader of a secret white supremacist cabal, the absurdly titled Christmas Adventures Club, in director Paul Thomas Anderson's satirical drama, now on digital platform. It's one extended scenes shot in front of a surreal diorama of stuffed flying pheasants, but for Teague, who reset his career to play darker character roles after being typecast as a mop-top paramedic, Roy DeSoto on Emergency, 1972 to 1979, his appearance in the prestige drama is a career-topping achievement. I never wanted celebrity. I just wanted to be regarded as a good actor, Teague told USA Today, speaking from his home in Bellingham, Washington. In many ways, when I look back at my brief scene in this film, it's the capper on what I was trying to do and reach. After Teague's emergency role, I thought my career was over. Teague has no regrets about his star-making emergency years as a married paramedic partnered with Bachelor sidekick Johnny Gage, Randolph Mantooth. He was best man at Mantooth's second wedding in 2002, one of the many long-lasting friendships resulting from the NBC show. Teague is proud the series set around Los Angeles fictional Station 51 was so popular that it inspired a generation of first responders, spurred a nationwide call for paramedic services, and paved the way for such shows as 911 and Chicago Fire. But after 6 seasons and 2 TV specials, Emergency ended in 1979, and the work flamed out for Teague. I couldn't get arrested after that show ended, he says. I thought my career was over. He started from scratch, studying acting in New York City and doing regional theater. I've slowly made the climb back, he says. He landed his first malevolent role in director John Sayles' 1987 period drama, Matewan, playing a dangerous company enforcer and coal strikebreaker. It was the first time I played a bad guy, says Teague. One day on the set, John Sayles came up to me and said, "You'll be playing more bad guys." And that's what happened. 8 years after his last role, Teague got the call for One Battle. He followed that role by playing gambler Sport Sullivan in Sayles' 1988 baseball scandal drama, 8 Men Out. In Roadhouse, he was the perfectly oily Double Deuce owner, Frank Tillman, who hires bouncer Dalton, Patrick Swayze. He went entirely terrible in roles such as ruthless conman Anthony Cooper on Lost, 2005 to 2010, and a cold insurance CEO on TNT's Leverage from 2009. Teague says he had to withdraw from acting after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2014. He had been semi-retired with a 2016 criminal return on Law & Order SVU as his last appearance, 8 years before the surprise call from Anderson's longtime collaborator, casting agent Cassandra Colonus. Returning for the big-budget movie and meeting the revered director on the set was daunting. Quite frankly, I was nervous. It was a sleepless night before, Teague says. I hadn't worked in a while, and as you age, your memory gets fuzzy. During rehearsals, he forgot the lines he had down cold the night before. Anderson was understanding. He put his arm around me and said, "Don't worry about it. You're doing well," Teague says. The next day, for the cameras, Teague brought the ice to the nefarious Christmas Adventurers Club, a group that shockingly features Tony Goldwyn, best known as President Fitzgerald Grant III on Scandal, as fellow members Virgil Throckmorton. The group hires hitman Tim Smith, John Hookenecker, to kill the group's traitor, Colonel Stephen Lockjaw, Sean Penn. I nailed it, and I nailed many variations of it, which Anderson seemed open to, Teague says. I seemed to know exactly what he wanted. I found an honesty, he says of the character. Moore ends the meeting with a dark command to the hitman. Make it clean. We should be able to eat off the floor. It's all the more jarring since, after half a century, fans still recognize Teague as his good-natured emergency character. I've had a beard and long hair, but people always seem to know exactly who I am after 50 years. I'm kind of baffled by that, he says. I've had friends call, and people have been surprised to see me. There was definitely an element of surprise to that scene. Movies. Iconic Home Alone house was merely a home once. From Aaron Jensen. Fans of Home Alone may have wondered, what if those walls could talk? Well, gather round, you filthy animals. John Abenshine owned the brick Georgian-style residence in the Chicago suburbs of Winnetka, Illinois, during filming of the Christmas classic released 35 years ago. And he's spilling behind-the-scenes tea. The way Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin, did toy cars and ornaments to stop two burglars in his book, Home But Alone No More, available now and in an interview with USA Today. Some interior scenes were filmed on a soundstage constructed at a nearby high school, but the residents, Anderson says with his then-wife Cynthia Demps and their daughter Lauren, age 6, also was transformed for the movie that was shot in 1990. Green and red wallpaper attached to foam board adorned their walls. Production added the furnace that haunted Kevin's dreams. We didn't have any man-eating furnaces in the basement, Ebenchen tells USA Today. We had an old vintage boiler and it looked quite boring. Ebenshine, founder of a healthcare consulting firm, and his family stayed in the house during filming. During downtime, he was able to chat with the actors. Catherine O'Hara, who played Kevin's mom, Kate, was the quintessential mom off camera, Abenshine says, and bonded with his young daughter, Daniel Stern. Half of the nitwitted Wet Bandits would entertain Lauren and the neighborhood children. He showed off the rubber duck feet that they used to keep his feet from getting cut up by the fake ornaments when he stepped in the window in that scene, Abenshine says, and the kids just loved him. Here are more revelations about the movie, including how much Abenshine received for the use of his home and a surprise visit while filming the sequel. Macaulay Culkin was very serious about getting his lines. Abenshine found Culkin, age 9 at the time of filming, quite impressive. He comes across with a lot of whimsy, but in real life he was very serious about getting his lines, Abenshine says. His timing was perfect. He even had spontaneity on some scenes, like placing his hands on his face for Kevin's iconic post-aftershave scream. Off camera, he was just like the little kid next door, scampering around the house, Abenshine adds. Culkin and Devin Rattray, who played Kevin's older brother Buzz, were scripted as enemies, but off-screen they were good friends, Abenshine says. They often completed their required studies with Kieran Culkin, Macaulay's brother, who played Kevin's Pepsi-loving cousin Fuller. Abenshine didn't get rich from Home Alone or its sequel. For the first film, Abenshine says he received about $65,000 for the 14 weeks of filming at his family's residence. Filmmakers came knocking once more for the 1992 sequel, Home Alone 2: Lost in New York, but Abendschein felt insulted by the offer, a standard location fee rate, which he says was less than $5,000. That was no longer a standard, generic piece of property, he tells USA Today. That was something that I felt they really needed for the continuity for the Segway scene when they're leaving the house for the airport. So he countered with an offer he remembers being somewhere under $15K for the one-day shoot, which was in retrospect probably very low as well. We probably could have done a lot better, but suffice it to say, we didn't get rich off of that or the first movie. In the end, Abendschein, Demps, and the studio agreed on a fee of $15,000 to be donated to a shelter for unhoused women and children in Chicago. Michael Jackson visited Culkin on the set of Home Alone 2. During the filming Home Alone 2, Michael Jackson paid an unexpected visit to Abendschein's home to see Culkin. The actor has said Jackson reached out to him, and the two became friends, despite a 22-year gap in age. Culkin also appeared in Jackson's 1991 video, Black or White. While Culkin was occupied with filming, Abendschein was asked to entertain the King of Pop. For more than an hour, Abendschein hosted Jackson in his study. Though he believes he can easily converse with others, he admittedly felt nervous chatting with Jackson. "What do I say to Michael Jackson? He's not in my world at all," Abendschein says. So we had kind of a formal conversation. No major revelations that I can share. Jackson asked Abendschein to keep quiet about his visit, but with reporters on the premises, the pop icon's appearance made news. Around 4 a.m. the next morning, Abendschein received a call from Jackson. He was, I think, a little concerned that I had shared the fact that he was there, Abendschein says, and I explained to him in so many words that he had walked into a public fishbowl by being there. So we had a brief conversation, and that was that. Abendschein declined 2 iconic souvenirs from the shoot. Aside from a draft of the Home Alone script and very few photos, Abendschein doesn't have any mementos from the film. Alexa played John Williams, somewhere in my memory. Sadly, we have nothing, he says. Part of it was the skepticism I had about the film. I had no idea it was going to become such a blockbuster and such an iconic film. The movie raked in more than $476 million worldwide at the box office. Abendschein declined an offer to keep the lawn jockey that is hit multiple times by visitors to the McAllister's home and had production remove Kevin's treehouse, which he flees in order to escape the burglars. I could just see neighborhood kids coming from all over to climb up that tree and get in the treehouse, Abendschein says. It had attractive nuisance from a legal standpoint written all over it, so I had them take it down. Who owns the Home Alone house now? Abendschein and Demps own the house until 2012. We'd been there for 23 years and were ready to move on to a little bit smaller space and a little bit more privacy, he says. The property was listed for $2.1 million, Abendschein writes in his book, and sold for $1.6 million. The new buyers added more than 5,000 square feet to the home, making way for a gym, indoor sports court, and theater room. The additions brought the total square footage of the house with 5 bedrooms and 6 baths to 9,126. The property sold once more in January 2025 for $5.5 million, $250,000 over asking price. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time's 50 minutes after the hour. Now for Section C, which is sports. Here's a commentary. Observation deck thoughts. A glimpse at quarterback Shedeur Sanders. from Brent Schottenboer. In the final weeks of his final college season at Colorado in 2024, I got the chance to ask quarterback Shedeur Sanders a certain question about his craft. This was on November 21st, 2024. I would end up watching every one of his 24 starts at Colorado and covered 17 of them in person, plus 2 spring inter-squad games. In this case, I wanted to know what he had learned from the private quarterback trainer he had worked with to improve his game. His answer provided a glimpse into the kind of player he is. It's also one of 15 personal observations to share about him now as he takes a bigger stage again as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in his rookie season. Number 1, he's super serious about his craft. This especially showed when I asked what his private trainer, Daryl Colbert Jr., meant to his development as a player. Everything, Sanders replied. The rest of his answer showed how important it is for him to work on little details year-round on his own time and dime. He said it started off with Colbert watching old videos from his days in Jackson State, then working with him on his throwing motion and footwork. Everything changed, Sanders said. Everything's better. Footwork's better, overall. We just cleaned up a lot of things, just overstriding and tidying up on everything. Number 2, he's a good kid, man. He's always been polite and gracious with reporters, even if they've kept at a distance in controlled settings. One time in April 2024, I watched him oblige fans at a restaurant in Boulder by posing for pictures with them and even signing autographs on one man's cheek and another's bald head. Number 3, he's having fun and confident, not arrogant. Some social media critics might have had their sensibilities offended by what he said on CBS before and after his starting debut November 23rd in Las Vegas. I'm who they've been looking for, Sanders said before the game after being asked what he hoped to show his team and fans. It might have sounded to some like he was calling himself the Browns' savior, but so what? He believes in himself and doesn't mind putting pressure on himself like that. Isn't that better for him than saying he thought he'd be the next Browns flop? As his father, Deion Sanders, says, "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurity." Number 4, he should have been a first-round draft pick. He fell to the 5th round in the NFL draft in April, and 5 other quarterbacks were picked before him. But there's no way all 5 of those players are better than him, and not just because of his accuracy, which was 71.8% in major college football, ranking as the highest ever with a minimum of 875 attempts, according to sportsreference.com. NFL teams have been historically terrible at forecasting a quarterback's ability, and sometimes overlook a player's talent for other bad reasons. Number 5, he's grown. That's what his father nicknamed him because of uncommonly premature maturity. He doesn't seem to get angry or ruffled. It showed in his team's 24-10 win against the Raiders when he said afterward he felt very relaxed for his starting debut. His father said on the Colorado Football Coaches Show that Shedeur had been analyzing opposing defenses since age 7. At the same time, he's only 23 and still might be prone to getting speeding tickets. Number 8, his watch flex is celebratory and sometimes edgy. This is his signature celebration move. He did it again after beating the Raiders, raising his wrist to the crowd and leading Browns fans to go wild. He said in 2023 he came up with a move on his own spontaneously, creating a cultural moment that soon could reignite. Some interpreted it as unsportsmanlike at times, like when he flexed to the Arizona State student section after a win in 2023. But those same fans had chanted overrated at him earlier. Number 7, he's coachable and adapts. He's had 7 offensive coordinators since his first year of college in 2021. Michael Pollock, Jason Phillips, T.C. Taylor, and Brett Bartolone at Jackson State, followed by Sean Lewis and Pat Shurmur at Colorado. Now it's Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rose calling plays for Cleveland. Number 8, he does need to work on some things. He is known to hold on to the ball too long for the same reason people mistakenly think he's arrogant, because he believes in himself to make a play. I can't unsee that time in the Alamo Bowl last year when he kept going backward trying to make a play on 3rd and 3 from the BYU 7-yard line. He ended up getting sacked for a 23-yard loss, forcing his team to settle for a field goal. Number 9, he's a tough SOP, son of prime. His team gave up the second most quarterback sacks in the nation in 2023, 56, and got better in 2024, but still gave up the most sacks in the Big 12 Conference, 43. That's a lot of beatings for a quarterback, but isn't that kind of what the NFL wants? A quarterback who shows he can take it and get back up for the next play? Number 10, his back might be an issue. This is the obvious downslide to these beatings. He missed his final game in 2023 because he had a fractured back. He downplayed it, but I don't know if there's such a thing as a minor broken back. He also recently had issues with his back in Cleveland. Number 11, appearance matters to him. And there's a good reason for it. As his father says, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good. After he beat TCU in his first game for Colorado in 2023, he made sure there was no food stuck in his teeth before talking to reporters. Before appearing at a pop-up retail event in Boulder as a college student in 2024, he pulled up in a Tesla Cybertruck and parked right in front between making his grand entrance into the crowded restaurant. Number 12, he's a showman. He is his father's son in this regard, but he's less flamboyant than his father. Besides his confident statements, he's still got that watch flex, the cars, the jewelry, and even his personal legendary merchandise with the $sign logo. It's all part of that persona that he inherited from the master of marketing and endorsement deals, his dad. Self-promotion is smart for business. 13. He knows the Tom Brady story. He also knows Tom Brady, the legendary NFL quarterback. Brady fell to the 6th round of the NFL draft in 2000 before winning 7 Super Bowls. Shedder fell to the 5th round in April. Brady didn't get the chance to start a game until the previous starter was knocked out of a game with an injury in 2001. Shedder didn't get his first chance to start until the previous starter also was knocked out with an injury. It doesn't mean he'll win 7 Super Bowls, but it does add fuel to his dreams. 14. He might be his father's favorite in one respect. Deion Sanders has 2 daughters and 3 sons. He likes to rank his children from time to time, even if he really loves them the same. Shedder is his youngest son and the first to play in an NFL game, which undeniably delighted the father. The Pro Football Hall of Famer was still gushing about it November 25th, even though his team was 3-8 this season. 15. He's built for this. Combine his father's genes and mentorship with Shedder's personal dedication to his craft. Add that to his previous success, toughness, accuracy, and willingness to be coached. What's the sum of all that? An NFL starting quarterback who's just getting started. Tiger hails Scheffler's superb year from Adam Shuppick. Scotty Scheffler is modest to a fault. The 29-year-old Texan didn't bother to guess when asked how many statistical categories he ranked first in his season on the PGA Tour. The answer is 28, which isn't too shabby, including winning the Byron Nelson Award for low scoring average, 68.13, leading the tour in par 4 scoring average, 3.89, and bounce back percentage, 36.36%. He also recorded a tour best 17 top 10 finishes while not missing a cut. But when he was next asked to give his season a letter grade, he demurred. "I've no idea," he said. What will his lasting memory be of a season when he won 6 times, including the PGA Championship and British Open? I was proud of the discipline that I had throughout the season. And not only that discipline, but also staying patient in the beginning of the year when things weren't going as I hoped they would. I was still able to kind of ground out some decent finishes and keep myself in it. And then I started trending and found myself in a really good spot in the middle of the year, he said. If Scheffler won't toot his own horn, allow 15-time major winner and Hero Tournament host Tiger Woods to do so on his behalf. There's nothing you can't not like about Scotty. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, Woods began. What he's doing on the golf course is just incredible. The consistency day in and day out. The strategy that he attacks the golf course. It starts, you can see him analyze it from the green back where the flag is, where he wants to miss a tee shot, what club to hit, where the wind is, what side of the tee box he's to start off on. It's truly amazing at how thoughtful he is and strategic he is throughout the entire round. Tiger was just getting started. He continued to wax poetic about Scheffler's mental fortitude. And on top of that, he doesn't have lapses in a round like most players do. He's there present for all 18 holes and all shots played, and that's hard to do. To do that day in and day out with the grueling schedule that the tour bus and the players are playing now in more of a condensed season and the big events that he's playing in. I mean, he won 6 times, and they're not small events. He's beating the best fields, so that's something that I certainly can appreciate. And I think that I hope everyone else appreciates it as well, because you just don't see this happen very often. It's a level of brilliance and dominance that golf fans haven't been treated to since Tiger in his heyday. Scheffler's scoring average this year? Only Tiger bettered it at his most sublime in 2000. I truly love watching him hit irons, the shaped shots that he hits, the trajectory, the window changes that he has, the distance control, the miss in the proper spot, the proper spin in certain pin locations. These are all subtle things that mean a lot over the course of 72 holes, Wood said when asked to name the part of Scheffler's game he most admires. That to me is impressive. If you don't have trajectory control, you can't have distance control. To see him move it up and down in different windows, use wind, fight wind, and control spin is fun to watch. It turns out they are members of a mutual admiration society. When Scheffler was asked what stood out about Tiger's game, it sounded a lot like Tiger riffing about him. He always had the ability to hit many types of shots and was always working extremely hard on his game. He was never complacent or satisfied with where he was at his game. Kind of always kept working. I've admired that about him, Scheffler says. Game respects game. Scheffler had a chance to go out on top one more time in 2025. This week, he is the 2-time defending champion of the Hero World Challenge and seeking to become the first to win 3 consecutive titles. This is Scheffler's 5th appearance at the tournament, where he has never finished worse than second and never shot an overpower 10-hole score at Albany Golf Course in 12 rounds. Last year, he posted a 72-hole total of 263 that tied his tournament record of Bobby Watson in 2015, the year the tournament moved to Albany. Yeah, I've had some success here. It's a golf course that I like, said the ever humble Scheffler. Then he added, I find this week to be pretty valuable as I look toward starting next season. Once more, Scheffler sounded a lot like Tiger, always looking forward and never back. Duolod ceremonial Olympic outfits. Team USA fits designed by Ralph Lauren for the 20th time. From Chris Bombaca. One of the fashion world's fashion capitals, Milan, carries a reputation that should motivate designers to bring their best while outfitting the elite athletes for the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2026 Winter Olympics. That was precisely Ralph Lauren's goal for Team USA. It's the proudest moment for our country as these athletes take the stage, Ralph Lauren Chief Branding and Innovation Officer David Lauren told USA Today Sports. If we can make them look great in Italy, we've scored. Ralph Lauren has designed their ceremony outfits for 20 consecutive Olympics, including the Milan Games. The opening ceremony uniform features a white coat made of wool with heritage-inspired wooden toggles and an iconic American flag knitted onto the sleeves. Athletes walking in the festivities on February 6th will wear a wool turtleneck sweater and tailored wool trousers. The baggier fit appeals to snowboarder Red Gerard, who is a fan of the winter white color and the casual nature it exudes. And they're warm, Gerard told USA Today Sports, which is really nice. A lot of times people forget that even though it's the opening ceremony, it's the Winter Olympics, really cold. A two-time Olympian and gold medalist from the 2018 slopestyle event, Gerard said walking out with Team USA teammates at the opening ceremony is when it hits you that this is bigger than any other competition. The fits are a reminder that Gerard is representing something much bigger than himself. This is by far my favorite opening-closing outfits, said Gerard, who is also a sucker for a good sweater. Paralympic snowboarder Brenna Huckabee prefers the closing ceremony set, which draws inspiration from vintage ski racing kits and features a sporty and modern color-blocked puffer jacket with bold Team USA graphics and a wool turtleneck sweater and a patriotic color palette paired with a crisp white utility pant. It's fast, Huckabee told USA Today Sports. It looks like we're going to go really fast on our snowboards. Huckabee appreciates that the Paralympic and Olympic athletes wear the same uniforms, with either the Olympic or Paralympic logo emblazoned on the jackets. It feels very uniting, Huckabee said. All items in each uniform are produced in the United States. Both looks are completed with red, white, and blue knit hats and mittens, a leather belt, and brown suede alpine boots with spirited red laces. The company works about 3.5 years on the ceremony clothing to try to bring to life the ceremony clothing and tell a story of what America is about, Lauren said. Some pieces make excellent gifts or can be worn again, Huckabee said. She stashes her favorite items away to maybe one day give them to either one of her daughters, ages 9 and 10. The turtle sweater is her favorite part of the Milan ceremony. Milan ceremony wardrobe. Trading clothing items isn't uncommon in the athlete villages, Huckabee said. But that won't be the case for Huckabee in Italy. It's just so chic and clean, she said. I don't know. I would wear everything outside of opening and closing ceremonies. It fits. You've been listening to a reading of the USA Today for December 5th. We read the USA Today weekdays at noon. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. Your reader for this hour has been Nancy.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have episode number 5 of Boat Baby by Vicki Nguyen. Following that, at 3 o'clock is New York Magazine. At 4 o'clock, a re-airing of today's Buffalo News. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio Reading serves people who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. From its broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga, just north of Clinton Street. Almost 40 years and more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those unable to read printed matter on their own. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of newspapers, magazines, and books. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call us at 716-821-5555. Are you facing challenges with vision loss and need help with your smartphone, sending emails, navigating the internet, and staying connected with your family? VIA, Visually Impaired Advancement, is offering free classes for seniors weekly at multiple locations with free assistance for your smartphone, email, and internet skills. There's a new session every week, and it rotates between the South Towns and the North Towns. It's at your local Erie County libraries and at 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. For more information, call Elhana Porter at 716-888-4632. Again, that's 716-888-4632. You're listening to your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, books, and other printed matter. People who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula are provided special reading radios. This year, the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service marks almost 40 years on the air. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading Service studios are at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service website is nfradioreading.org. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555.